Do you have or have you had an emotionally distant parent? Let's talk about it. So, emotionally distant parents are usually very self absorbed, very entitled. Their parent, by the maturity level, they lack the capacity to actually do the work of parenting, to teach, to be there, to meet children at the heart level, to emotionally parent them, teach them skill set to emotionally regulate or co-regulate with the children. The children are seen as objects that are supposed to just sit here where they're here. They can go partying, drugs, alcohol, do their thing, go to the club. Every weekend they are off to doing something else in their own pleasure, where at the same time, every now and then just put it on Instagram or social media how great of a parent they are, but they're never at that level, emotional level, with their children. Multiple women, or sometimes multiple men, depending on gender, but majority of the time it's men, but there's a good number of women also who are emotionally distant. I describe them as being cold, callous, and uncaring. Cold, callous, and uncaring. Do you have a parent like that? Have you had a parent like that? Leave me a comment in the chat box and let's talk about it. Because this is what leads to childhood trauma, crappy childhood, because a parent can be there, but if they're emotionally disconnected, that also leaves you with a lot of trauma, a lot of healing to do. And you can do it by reparenting yourself. Check my video on reparenting yourself. Okay, bye.
We think that childhood trauma needs to be extreme, means abuse, abandonment, but often trauma is so much quieter. It's growing up with an extremely controlling parent. It's learning that your feelings are wrong or that you are too much, never really good enough. It's swallowing your needs because you knew they just wouldn't be met, or if you would ask for it, you would have been shut down. It's holding your breath and waiting for the mood in the room to change before you even could speak. And that kind of emotional suffocation doesn't just disappear when you grow up. It gets stuck inside of you. It keeps your nervous system on high alert. It raises your cortisol. And it probably even wrecks your digestion, your hormones, and your sleep. And it absolutely can have an impact on your fertility. We don't fully understand every mechanism yet. Science is still catching up, like so often. But what I see in my practice every single day, I see women, they are fighting invisible battles. Women who have done every single freaking diet, supplement, protocol, and they're still not seeing what they want to see. And they feel like their body is holding them back. And I'm convinced that emotional, unresolved trauma is a massive part of the story. And that's the reason why I created the Nervous System Reset course, because healing isn't just about what you eat or how you move. It's about creating safety within you, a safe body. It's about calming the system, a system that's been in survival mode. Join me for free on the 5th of May in our kickoff session, where you learn to reset and to reconnect your nervous system so you can finally feel safe again.
There are 4 parenting styles to take a note of on this topic of crappy childhood and childhood trauma. Stay here. So there's the authoritarian, authoritative, permissive, and there's absent. Authoritarian is more like my way or no other way. They're very entitled, demanding, toxic, blah, blah, blah. Authoritative is the best one, flexible. They go from firm to, parenting from a heart place, from an emotional place. They consider emotions and they do repair. They are able to apologize to their children when they're wrong. Like, for example, if you have older children, when you were younger, how you parented might have been different, maybe crappier than how you are now, because now you know and you have more tools and more knowledge of your patterns and how to, do the parenting style better, or maybe you're doing gentle parenting more now than when you were younger, and you're trying to unlearn patterns that you learned when you were younger and from your own environment and conditioning. So that's authoritative, and there's permissive, where anything goes, like, well, just skipping in the park, it's like anything goes kind of thing. That might not be the best either. And then there's absent is just absent. They choose themselves, they choose women, they choose men, they choose the club, they choose drugs, they do gambling, they make them the center, the universe. Everything else just kind of down here revolving around them. So what do you do if you've had this kind of style? Do you have that kind of parenting style? My name is Gina Tumesi, your favorite psych nurse practitioner. Thank you so much for checking my channel. Subscribe so my videos can also be like pushed forward by YouTube and TikTok or whatever, wherever you're checking me out at. Give me a like, share, so we can carry these conversations. So what do? It's not easy to have crappy childhood. What had happened. You have parents who literally unleashed their anger on you, their trauma on you. When they are stressed at work or outside, they come home, everybody's walking on eggshells, including your mother, who was a pick-me, so would not leave your father. So the toxicity was just toxicity. It was an obsessed pool of toxic in the home. It was unpredictable, because children thrive on predictability. Mother was checked out because she's always in her feelings, because dad is treating her bad. So they can't have enough bandwidth to look at you, even parent you. You're always dismissed. You're just an object in the home. You know the picture that I'm painting. So that type of dynamic, it's like you're being groomed to tolerate dysfunction. And once you're there as an adult, it's so important to forgive your parent, because they didn't have the capacity or the bandwidth or the skill set or the knowledge or the mental health. They didn't do the therapy. They weren't even aware of what therapy means. They wouldn't embrace it. Or there's a lot of shame about mental health, first of all, or mental health coupled with things like physical disabilities or chronic health issue, high blood pressure, cancers, chronic high blood, diabetes, things like that. Who knows? They might have issues. Or they have undiagnosed mental health issue, bipolar, schizophrenia, drug issues, gambling issues, porn issues, hypersexuality issues, name it. So you have to learn to reparent yourself. This is why it's important. I get my book on You're Not Broken, and get all the tools within the worksheet, and you can journal in it. So important to journal as well. Just write all the inky stuff once a day. Take 2 minutes. Just let it out. Even on your phone, there are apps. Use the note app. Write it out. Let it out. Because those things can literally be in your subconscious. And as you go along, you are parenting your children, especially if a child with difficult personality type, and you don't align personality wise with that child, you can easily break them. Or a child who might have disability really requires a lot of mental labor to take care of. It's important to recognize that. A child with ADHD, learning disability, eating disorders, a child with bipolar, borderline personality, high conflict, like just difficult things. Those babies that can't calm down, and they grow up to be like there. But it's okay. There's help. This is why there's help. This is why there is help. So you have to learn to repair yourself. Get my workbook, You're Not Broken. Otherwise, check my videos. Check many other creators who are working and talking about crappy childhood. Once we recognize as a collective, something happened. What happened to you? How do you heal from it and continue to be a better version so you can break generational patterns? I hope this was helpful. Give me a like, share, subscribe, follow me for more. Okay, bye.
Stop being mad at yourself for being sad. Stop blaming yourself for being sad. I need you to understand that you are so conditioned to hiding your pain that you have learned to blame yourself for it. And that is so inappropriate. A lot of us grew up in childhood homes where we could not express ourselves, where when we did, we would get shunned. We would be told we were sensitive. We would be, made to be ashamed or embarrassed for what we were feeling, or to be guilty for what we felt, as though like you have no right to feel what you've been feeling. I do so much for you. I'm the only person, babes, and I'm still sad. babes, and you're still neglecting me. Like, we couldn't really say that, you know, back to our parents, but now here a lot of us are like in our 20s, 30s, 40s, is still in this perpetual state of shame around our feelings when it's not your fault. You have a very valid reason. Your feelings are valid. When I meet with my clients, it's the first thing that I tell them. Stop protecting your family by covering up your pain, by minimizing your pain. You're actually not doing yourself any favors. You're doing them a favor they didn't even ask for, and you're doing them a service that they don't care to do for you. You consider people so much you don't even realize how you destroy yourself to do so. And I love you, so I'm telling you the truth. I think the reason why I am such a great therapist and life coach, and why I've retained my clients but also just have like a good reputation, is because I keep it real. I am not just going to sit here, listen to you, and allow you to talk down on yourself. I'm going to help you turn every negative thought you have about yourself around and help you see the origin of it, because you need to start telling yourself a different story in order to heal. If this is the work that you're looking forward to do, if this is the kind of energy you need the person that you meet with to have, head to the link in my bio, sign up for a session. Let's heal, and give ourselves permission to feel a wide range of emotions. Because I'm pretty sure if you're a mother, or if you would be a mother, you would look at your child and be like, it's okay to be sad. I want to know why you're sad. Help me understand why you're sad. It's okay to be upset. What frustrated you? Do you feel violated? That makes so much sense. I would feel violated too. I'm so sorry. You would give your child that love and that attention. It's the love and attention you deserved. So now I need you guys to understand, healing is reparenting yourself. Let's get on a chat. Let's talk about how you can reparent yourself so that you can finally experience the peace you deserve, because we don't need you carrying around that stress. You're already Black in America. Love you. Mean it. Bye.
Trauma means a wound. That's the literal meaning of the word. It's a Greek word for wounding. So trauma is a psychological wound that you sustain. And it behaves like a wound. So on the one hand, a wound, if it's very raw, if you touch it, it just really hurts. So if I have a wound around not being wanted, then, or the belief that I'm not, then decades later, if anything reminds me of that, it hurts as much as it did when I originally incurred the wound. So in one sense, trauma is an unhealed wound that touched, we get triggered. That's what triggering means, by the way. Some old wound gets activated or touched. And the other thing that happens to wounds is that they scar over. And scar tissue has certain characteristics. It's thick. It has no nerve endings, so there's no feeling in it. So people traumatized disconnect from their feelings. Scar tissue is rigid. It's not flexible. So we lose kind of response flexibility. So when something happens, we tend to react in typical, stereotypical, predictable, dysfunctional ways because of the rigidity. And scar tissue doesn't grow like healthy flesh. So people who are traumatized tend to be stuck in emotional states that characterized their development when they were traumatized. So when somebody says to you, don't be such a baby, it doesn't sound very pleasant, but there's some truth to it. It means that you're probably reacting according to the lines of some wound that you sustained as an infant, and now you're reacting as if that wound was happening all over again. The trauma, as I define it, is not about what happens to us. It's about what happens inside of us as a result of what happens to us. And so the wound in trauma means wound. So the wound in this case is my sense of deficiency or not being good enough, not being worthy enough. Once I realize that, oh, this has got nothing to do with anything except this interpretation that I made of my own experience all those years ago, then when I notice it, I can no longer believe it. I don't have to any longer be a subject to that interpretation of myself in the world. So awareness is one step. It's not adequate, but it's an essential step towards letting go.
If you grew up with toxic parents, watch this video. I went to therapy multiple times throughout my adult life. I'm 33 years old. I went to therapy multiple times to try to heal the childhood trauma that I had. It never worked. Still had triggers that was causing issues in my relationships and triggers that held me back from disciplining my children. And some of those triggers were holding me back from showing affection to my children. But you know what helped me heal from my childhood trauma, and I'm able to live with my childhood trauma and it's not affecting me anymore? I did one small thing that took 10 minutes and it healed that child in me. I had to sit down and focus and go into my conscious state of mind and find me as a child. I went to my child, I held that little Carmen, and I told her that I am the adult that's going to save her. I told 7-year-old Carmen that 33-year-old Carmen is here to be the adult she needs. 33-year-old Carmen is here to save 7-year-old Carmen. I walked back out. At first, I didn't see a difference because I wasn't put in situations where I would get triggered. As time went on, I wasn't being put in situations where I was getting triggered because my triggers were gone. Not only did I stop getting triggered, but I also realized that I needed to be the adult that some of these kids need. Now, I didn't go to school to take child development courses, but I'll tell you one thing is I have experience in being a child, and so do some of you. And I would see the way that some of these kids are acting out, and I'd put myself in their shoes, and I'd ask myself, what would I want if I was in their shoes? And I became the adult that is there to also help them. Because I am the adult that is saving little Carmen, I'm also the adult setting an example for these kids. It has been almost a year since I was able to go in and tell my little bee that I am there to save her. And my life has taken a complete 360. I don't argue and have problems with my partner anymore. I am a better parent. I am a better daughter. I am able to have an actual relationship with my parents without being triggered or hurt about some of the stuff that they do with my kids now that I wish they would have done with me. You guys, I'm genuinely happy. And I wanted to be able to share this with you because you might be that adult that's still dealing with childhood trauma and therapy's not working. If you're watching this video, it was clearly for you. Let me know in the comments if you would like me to make a video on step-by-step on how I was able to heal my childhood.
You know, you never think about how much childhood trauma actually impacts all aspects of your life. Because most of the time, like, people only talk about the ways that it affects your, like, relationships, specifically romantic relationships. And they might touch on, like, how you view yourself, like your self-esteem. But I don't think they actually talk about all the aspects that it affects. But one that I want to talk about today is, like, your career. Because I grew up feeling like I had to fix everything for the adults in my life. Growing up, I just always thought I had to be a therapist, like, or a teacher or a psychologist. I thought that was what I was going to end up doing. That's not what I wanted to do, but I thought that's what I was going to end up doing. What I actually wanted to do growing up was to be on a stage. Like, I was that kid who I would sing, dance, make up my own dances. I would write songs. I would write books. I would paint. I would draw. I would literally anything creative I did. And I used to, when YouTube started out, I called myself being a little YouTuber, but I was like 8, 9. I was really young. But I loved media. And I remember my senior year of college getting to a point where I was like really frustrated. And I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And so I just did what everybody expected me to do because that was easier than learning how to listen to my own voice and doing the things that fulfilled me. That's always seemed like a battle to me because my whole life I had been conditioned to put everybody else's like needs and voices and desires before my own, that it just became really, really hard for me to hear my own inner voice. And so I went to grad school the first time in 2020. By March 2021, I dropped out because I was like, I want to do social media. Like, I want to do marketing. Like, I want to do like a fun, creative job. Like, I want the type of job where I walk in and I don't know what's going to happen that day. I want the type of job specifically in like social media where like I'm producing content and just doing all the things like for a company like Essence or BuzzFeed or just something creative like that. But I got scared and it felt like it was too hard for me to try to take some time to figure out what I actually wanted. And so I just again did what was most practical, and I got an office job. So I get this office job, and everybody in my family is excited for me. They're like, girl, you made it. This is some good money. And I remember trying to convince myself that I was happy with it. And so I'm like, I don't have any reason why I shouldn't be content right now. Like, this job is providing me health insurance. It's providing me more money than I've ever made before. It'll be really good for me as far as like my career. Even though it's not really what I want, it's giving me stability. Only for me to leave that job after almost 2 years, and I went to another job too. This one looked a little different because it was remote, but I essentially went and did the same thing because that was most comfortable for me. That was more familiar to do these jobs that I didn't want, that I could do, but I wasn't really fulfilled doing. And in September of last year, I actually had made up in my mind that I'm going back to school, and I'm going back to school to do something that I would want to do. And not only that, like, I am going to have a job that I feel passionate about. And so I'm circling back to like media and social media. And it's just crazy because I've spent like literally over a decade like battling myself. Like, I want to do this, but everybody else is telling me I should do this. And I just think people don't really talk about how like people pleasing and childhood trauma really does impact the type of career that you think you could have. And like it impacts your passions, your dreams. Like, it literally impacts everything in your life that makes you you. And I just feel like people don't talk about that enough. And through healing and talking through my own traumas and doing all of this work in the last couple years, I finally feel like I'm returning to myself, and I'm returning to the dreams and the passions that I always had. And I finally have the courage and the boldness to pursue them that I didn't have before. So yeah.
Let me read this to you. Trauma isn't just the sadness that comes from being beaten or neglected or insulted. That's just one layer of it. Trauma also is mourning the childhood you could have had, the childhood other kids around you had. The fact that you have had a mom who hugged and kissed you when you skinned your knee, or a dad who stayed and bought you a bouquet of flowers at your graduation. Trauma is mourning the fact that as an adult, you have to parent yourself. You have to stand in your kitchen, starving, near tears, next to a burnt chicken, and you can't call your mom to tell her about it, to listen to her tell you that it's okay, to ask if you can come over for some of her cooking. Instead, you have to pull up your bootstraps and solve the painful puzzle of your life by yourself. What other choice do you have? Nobody is going to solve it for you. That sadness, the sadness of loss, is a different flavor than the sadness of reckoning. The sadness of reckoning feels visceral and angry and tinged with violence. It feels healable, somehow with revenge or justice. But the sadness of a lost childhood feels like yearning, impossible desire. It feels like a hollow, insatiable hunger. I'd spent my life telling myself I didn't need a mommy or a daddy, but now I was beginning to realize that this hunger isn't childish. It is a universal primal need. Wow. I want you to remember that if you relate to what I just read, that it is okay that you are grieving that childhood that you never have, that you look around you and you see yourself comparing things of your friends and their families, and that you have a hard time when you see them interact with each other because it's all you ever wanted. It is okay to still yearn for that dad or that mom that you never had. It's okay to be sad that you didn't get the childhood that you wanted, that you don't get that relationship that you want so badly now. None of us want to hate our parents. None of us want to be no contact with our parents. It is something that we've had to do to survive. It is something we've had to do for the betterment of ourselves. Just because we had to do it does not mean that we wanted to do it or that we don't struggle with the fact that we're doing it.